Okay, so we have a time constraint this evening for our speaker, so we'll be doing chapter remarks at the end of our presentation versus at the start.
Natural break point in about 20 minutes. We'll take a little break at that.
Okay. So we're very pleased to announce our featured speaker for this evening, Ms. Nicoletta Pichardo. She's a certified professional coach with over 11 years of transforming clients to be their best. Coaching's been a buzzword probably the last decade, but the federal government's starting to invest in coaching applications like BetterUp for the federal government and the Department of Defense. So when the federal government's seeing a value in coaching, I think that really shows that coaching is not this niche, nice to have, that it's more important than it ever has been. Okay, Ms. Pichardo is the CEO, founder, and president of Navigo Coaching, her consulting and coaching firm. She's certified in change management and neuro-linguistic programming. She speaks 3 languages, being a native German, but the most important language she speaks is transition, and you'll find that out about that this evening. We welcome her here. Getting speakers to speak in person hasn't been easy in the past 15 months that we've been back to in-person events, especially speaking to more than 100 people. So we thank her and we look forward to this great presentation.
So we've all heard that knowledge is power. And I'm here to say that's not true. We have knowledge and we can be an amazing expert. We can be an expert in our field, an expert in leading something, and we can be the go-to person. But if you don't have the ability to inspire others to take action, if you don't know how to motivate people to take action, then you're missing out. Because then all you have is just really something that you know. And you're missing out on opportunities. You're missing out on creating the impact that all of you want to create in this room. And so tonight, we're going to go on a journey together. We're going to go on a leadership journey. And we're not going on a trip, because a trip is very prescriptive. A trip is cookie cutter. You have some boxes that you can tick off, but a journey is different. It allows you opportunity for growth. It offers you the opportunity to find something new that's relevant for you, because every person in this room is on their very own unique leadership journey. And so tonight is all about discovering things that you can plug into your specific leadership journey. Now, to start us off, we are going to go on an amazing race. So I see we're still eating, but this will still work, because what I'd like us to do first, as we're doing this amazing race together, is for you to choose one object that represents something about your leadership, some characteristic. So just look around, see what's in your purse, and choose one object that has something to say about who you are as a leader. And I'll give you about 30 seconds to do that. When you have your object, just maybe you could just hold it up so I can see how people are doing. See lots of phones, even iPads, masks. All right. So this is what I'd like for you to do. And the same is true of our online audience. We're hoping that you can participate as well, even if we don't see your picture. So just turn to somebody at your table. So our tables are going to be our groups tonight for all these activities. And I'd like you to share some. I'd like for you to share one, what's the object that you chose? What does the object say about a leadership characteristic? And most importantly, how did you feel about the exercise? Now, here's an invitation to dig deep. Don't go with one of the 10 most common. It felt good. It was okay. I'm not sure. There are over 136 words to describe how we're feeling. So get creative and share with one person. I'll give you about 3 minutes. So if you could send people into breakout rooms for about 2.5 minutes to share with one person, what's the object? What does it represent on your leadership? And how did you feel? And I want to check in with you. As you're sharing, I want to hear from some tables, and I'll just gonna maybe ask. There's some people still sharing about the item that they chose. So I'm really curious to hear from some volunteers. I'm going to ask some people who, if they want to share online as well. What did you discover? What's a leadership tool that you chose, or an item here? And how did you feel during the exercise? Who is brave enough to stand up and share with us? All right, thank you very much. Let's give her a hand. Woo. Sugar. Oh, okay. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. Felt limited. Anyone else? Raise your hand if you felt a little bit limited too. Yeah, I saw some people a little bit limited. And so maybe somebody from our online community wants to share, what did they notice in their rooms? So feel free to post that or take yourself off mute, because I'd love to hear from somebody in the online community as well. Anyone else? While people are writing their comments in the chat, anyone else? What did you discover at your table over here? Anyone brave enough to share an item that you picked? A pen? Okay, tell us more. You write a lot. And how did you feel about the exercise? So, yeah, I said, she said, don't, you said not to say fine. So pick something else. Challenge. Challenged. So I heard limited, challenged, and I see somebody with a fan, cup, tea, glass of wine, right? Very nice. So if we checked in with every person here, you would notice that everyone had a different reaction. And as a group, there would probably be a lot more people in this group saying they felt limited and challenged because we had limited resources here. Now, our online, you see, not so much challenge, but made me think. It's a comment from online, because of course, they're sitting at home. They have everything at their fingertips. They can pick anything. And when we're managing teams, you just had a snapshot of what we're talking about today. Because when we're leading teams and leading people, people always have different reactions. Now, depending on the reaction you had, you probably engaged very differently. I saw in some tables, people were leaning back, Maybe they were thinking, this is kind of a strange exercise. Why are we doing this? Some people got really excited. I saw big smiles and I saw laughter. Those were the people that are probably going, wow, this is a creativity exercise. How can I lean into this? And everyone had a different reaction. And based on how you felt about it, you engaged in the exercise a different way. And we're going to look at that tonight because as you're managing people and teams, this becomes important. Now, I already had this fabulous, oops, looks like that isn't working for us. So my name is Nicoletta Pichardo, and I'm a mindset coach. What I get to do is help people grow their leadership, grow in organizations and their business by helping them see where are they setting themselves up for limitations, where are they playing small, where are they not leaning in fully to create that next milestone in their life. And for a lot of people, that's stepping into entrepreneurship for the first time, really increasing their leadership within an organization. But I wasn't always a coach. My background is I have a bachelor's in psychology, a master's in counseling before I shifted into coaching. And I've been really privileged that I've had the opportunity to work with thousands of hours of client work with people from CEOs of tech companies to people who are in organizations, teams, and individuals. And what they all have in common is that my clients are right at that edge and they know that next step, whatever that goal is that they want to reach, they have to grow themselves in order to reach it. Now, I'm originally from the town that most people know for the Oktoberfest, from Munich. So while I do all my coaching and training and all the programs we offer are in German and English language, the language that's most important is the language of transition. And especially when we're creating change in organizations, having the ability to navigate all of the transition process becomes very important. Can I just... Now, my commitment to you tonight is for you to gain an awareness of leadership blocks that you might be encountering within yourself, within your team, within your organization, and for you to have an increase in your leadership potential so that you have better results. That's my commitment to you. And in order for you to get the most out of this, I'm going to give you a few questions in a moment to think about as we're going through this program, because I would love it for you not just to sit there, have a great evening and say, oh, this was nice, but for you to actually be able to apply this somewhere in your leadership journey. Now, pretty early on, I recognized that there were some people, it didn't matter what you did, they were always grumpy, always had something going. I see and hear some smiles. Who knows somebody like that? Like you tell them, hey, it's not raining. And they're like, yeah, just wait for it. Just wait for it. And then there are those people, it almost doesn't matter what happens in life. They always seem to find the magic silver lining. They're the people that tell you, oh, I lost my job and my husband and wife left. But, this new freedom is really good for me. They're always finding the silver lining. And I became very curious very quickly to understand what makes the difference in experience and in the difference of the results that people are able to reach. Because it's not what is happening in people's lives that gets them to have different results. Now, I want you to imagine something like this. Imagine if you're sitting in a restaurant, a coffee shop, and you're sitting there having a great day, and across the room, you see somebody that you wanted to talk to. Maybe it's somebody you're interested in, and your eyes lock. The person gets up, walks close to you, near you. Maybe you feel excited because finally that conversation is going to happen, and they tip some water on you. How are you likely to respond in that moment? Here's some fun. Yeah, are you going to be really angry? Probably not so much. But imagine the same scenario. You're sitting there, you're in the cafe, and you've just gotten a letter from the IRS. By the way, you owe $25,000 and you forgot to pay. Now somebody comes over to you and tips some water on you. Ooh, how are you likely to respond now? Not so well. So the way we show up, the filters we have in our lives have a lot to do with what's possible. So imagine if on every seat here, there was a pair of sunglasses. but they were all different colors, red, green, blues. And I asked you, put them on and describe to me the color of the wall. What would be your answer? Well, your answer would be, well, it depends on the color of the glasses that you have on. And in life, we have those same filters. We wear those same glasses, just sometimes we're not aware of them. And especially when we're managing teams, this is important because guess what? Not everyone wears the same color glasses. And so today, I want to share with you a tool that I think is incredibly powerful for helping leaders like yourself see the variety of glasses that you're able to put on. Now, when I shifted into coaching, I was really looking for a leadership tool, an assessment tool that I could use with my clients to help them become better, help them grow from the inside out. And now who's done a test before, like the Myers-Briggs or, yeah, most of us have. And what those assessments do, you take them, they give you a label, and then you know kind of who you are. It's given you a label. Well, I ran into a challenge really quickly when I did that with one of my CEO clients. He was trying to grow his company. He was trying to go, he had a consulting firm, wanted to go into South America, and just was really stuck. We started working together, and when somebody coaches with me, they usually get homework assignments. And I was noticing he wasn't doing them. And so I asked him, and we can just call him Jim. I said, what's going on? Why aren't you doing these exercises? And he said, well, Nicoletta, this is not who I am. And I said, what do you mean this is not who I am? And he said, no, you don't understand. I took one of the assessments, doesn't matter which one. He said, and this is not the kind of person I am. And that really surprised me because I'm pretty good at giving exercises. And I said, well, Jim, can you show me? And he said, absolutely, come downtown and I'll show you. So I drove downtown, and his secretary's room was huge. That was the office for most people, and his office was even bigger. And I walked in, he had the perfect desk, nothing on there except the computer and some paperwork. And he said, let me show you. So he pulls up the assessment and he said, you see, the reason nothing that you say works for me is because I am. Now, an interesting thing happened in that moment. He pulls up the assessment, notices that he misremembered what he was labeled as in the assessment. He just misremembered, but he put the label on himself. So for the next 4 years, he lived into what he labeled himself. And it limited what became available to him. It limited his success. So I was looking for an assessment that gave us more options, more choices, more ability to grow as a leader, and a tool that not only measures where you are as a leader, but actually allows you to grow. And I found that tool with a leadership assessment called ELI. It is from Bruce D. Schneider. It's one of the top coaching programs in the United States and abroad. And it shows leaders how they are leading on 7 leadership levels. Now, I like to think of these leadership levels not as stairs, but as dimensions. These are dimensions that we can tap into at any time. Now, just by a show of hands, who in this room is in a leadership role right now? Okay. So I see not all hands are up, which doesn't surprise me. When I do this, I've never seen a group where all hands rise up, because sometimes people say, well, my team is too small. I'm only managing 100 people. Or my company is too small. There's only 500 employees. And yet, if you are leading and are here, you are a leader. So when we talk about leadership tonight, the context is simply the ability for you to inspire and motivate others to take action as well as yourself. Now, the leadership assessment has many, many dimensions. And today, we're only going to highlight a few. The ones that I think will be the most practical for you will be the ones that you're able to plug in right away so that you can work more effectively in your organization, in your teams, and wherever else you're showing up. But when you take the assessment, there's a lot more to it than what we're able to cover here tonight. It is one of the assessments that is recommended for executives to take. And one of the beautiful things is that it allows you to see not just who you are as a leader, how you're thinking on an average day, but have you ever noticed that when you're under stress, people point out to you that maybe you show up as a different person? Well, this assessment gives you a snapshot of who you are as a leader, not just on an average day, but also when you're under stress. Because that way you can take a targeted approach to deciding what it is that you want to work on. So let's dive in. I told you that you will get the most out of this evening if you keep a few questions in mind. We're going to go through these 7 leadership levels. And here are the questions that I suggest that you keep in mind. Ask yourself, where am I seeing this? Am I seeing this in my team, where I'm volunteering, in myself? And what's the impact? There's always an impact to everything that we do as a leader. So ask yourself, what are you missing out on? What is more difficult than it needs to be? And as a last question, what could become possible if you created a shift? So I invite you to just take a picture of that, write it in your app, but keep this in mind as we're going through these leadership levels tonight. Oops. So let's take a look at leadership level number 1. It's the lowest level that we can operate from. And at this level, there is a lot of guilt. Who's felt guilt? Guilt is here. Ruminating about the past, thinking about I should have, could have, I wish I had. Now, we all tap into this a little bit at times, but when teams operate from this level, what you'll see is that they're always in crisis mode. Teams that operate from level 1, they don't have the ability to plan. They don't have the ability to have strategic planning because they're always just trying to put out fires, really. They are stuck. They are really thinking about what could be better, why it isn't better, and they're taking a lot of blame on themselves. So the leaders who are at level 1 are really ruminating about how could I have shown up better. When we think about level 1 energy, we can kind of think a little bit about depression on the extreme. Somebody that's not engaged. There's a real lack of trust in teams that are operating on level 1. And on the extreme end, it looks like depression. Now, the thing to keep in mind with these leadership levels is that it can show up on a larger level, on a macro level, but it can also show up in situations and with people on an individual basis. So one of my clients, she was an executive, and she was just stuck. She'd somehow gotten to this magical limit in what she was able to create with her career. Her husband bought her the ELI and some coaching and said, just give it a try. And she came and she was really discouraged and she said, I guess I'll do this because my husband thinks it's a great idea. So she took the ELI, and what's different about the ELI, you actually have a conversation with me or with a coach afterwards. It's not that you just get something sent into your email that gets lost. And we went through the assessment, and she recognized that there was an old belief, a belief that she wasn't even aware of, that was getting in the way. You see, she was the youngest of 8 children. Now, when her parents got to her, they were looking at retirement, not at kindergarten opportunities. And the meaning that she gave herself, because when she would ask for things, the parents were either not paying attention, or they were not, ready to support her, or she was given hand-me-downs. The meaning that she gave herself is that my voice doesn't matter. I don't count. I don't deserve. Somewhere in her belief system, that's what she made this mean to her. Now, when she discovered that, and I asked her, I said, well, where else are you seeing this? She sat back and she said, oh my God, I'm seeing this pop up everywhere. I'm putting myself last in my family. I'm putting myself last at work. I'm not asking for what I want. And this is what was getting on the way. With the assessment, we were able to take a very targeted approach. So she did some work, and within a few months, she was able to finally break through that ceiling and get the promotion she had so yearned for. Now, at level 1, keep in mind that you know what you know. If I were to ask you, what do you know about project management? I'm sure we could spend all evening listening to all the things you know. And if I ask you, what is it that you don't know about your projects, your teams, or your team members, you could probably give me a lot of information on that too. But you couldn't tell me what you don't know that you don't know about yourself, your blind spots. And oftentimes when we're trying to create change, we start listening to books, we start doing a lot of things, but we're not taking a targeted approach because we don't know how to get to those blind spots. And this is what we were able to create. Now, the other thing I want you to keep in mind is that when we're at level 1, we sometimes inadvertently dip into level 1 energy and leadership level when we're sitting at our desks. When you're sitting there for 7, 8, 10 hours sometimes, how do we end up sitting when you've been at your computer way too long? You get slouched over. Yes, thank you for that. We get slouched over. How does our breathing, kind of shallow in our breathing? All of our emotions can be shifted by using our body. So I'm going to show you how to shift out of this, because if you're heading into a team meeting that requires you to show up with energy, that requires you to motivate some people to take action, it's not happening if you're showing up like this. So I know people are still eating their desserts, and I'm going to invite you just to put it down for a second, because we're going to try something. I'm going to show you how quickly it is possible for you to shift in a different energy level, which is really important when we've been sitting at the computer all day. So I'm going to count to 3, and on 3, I'm going to ask you to stand up as quickly and with much energy as you can possibly muster up right now, and just open up your arms and your chest like this. So here we go. 1, get ready, put the forks down. 2 and 3. So let's see, and open up the arms. So how does that feel? I see some stretching. This may also be because it's time and it's late in the evening, and feel free to have a seat. But what does it feel like just to stand up and shift the energy by standing up? And now I know if we did this again, you could do it even faster with more energy. But who noticed a shift from sitting to just standing up? Who noticed just a shift? Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind at level 1. When we're looking and shifting to level 2 is the level of anger. This is where, when I work with organizations, I'm often told it's the manager. He's the one who's managing at level, at anger, because anger gets stuff done. At level 2, the core thinking, and this is how you can recognize it, is people are always saying, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with this? What's wrong with that? The focus of level 2 leadership is always looking at what is wrong. There's still a lot of blaming happening at level 2, but the core belief and the core thought is that somebody else is to blame. It's not me. And when we can think about trust, not a lot of trust is happening at level 2 either, because it's me against the rest of everybody else. Now, when we also think about level 2 showing up, we think about anger the way that we see it. And anger is a tricky thing, because when you have people that are angry on your team, anger is a secondary emotion, which means there's always something going on underneath. Usually it's a value that's being somehow mistreated for that individual, or a belief that's not being upheld. But when you have somebody that you're working with or engaged with, or in any relationship really, who's showing up at level 2 and they're angry, it's because something is bumping up against their values. And so there's a lot of resentment, there's a lot of upset, discord. And the way you can see it in teams is micromanagement. This is because there's a lack of trust. So you have people who are delegating out. You've got this. I know you've got this. And then they're in there every 5 minutes checking. Do you need any help? Can I help you with this? Do you need any help? That's level 2 type of leadership. Micromanagement is a telltale sign. So how can we shift from level 2 energy? Well, for one, recognizing that it's not about the anger, it's really about something else that's happening. Now, here's the other thing about anger, and I'm going to put my hand down here. There's another phenomena called matching and mirroring, which you might have heard of before. When you go in a group, people tend to sit a certain way, they fold their arms a certain way. Well, here's the thing. I'm going to turn you into brain experts here very quickly, and I already apologize if there are any physicians, nurses, or they're going to go, you missed a few things, and I know I'm missing a few things. But there's a physician by the name of Dan Siegel, and he has a great model of the brain that I want to show to you so that you can understand what is happening at level 2. So I need you to take your right hand up like this, put your thumb across like this, and then put over your hands. You have now made a representation of the brain. This here is the brain stem, which goes back here. Down here, your thumb is the limbic system. This system is everything automatic. This is a bear attacks you. This is the part that is going to keep you running even when your foot is broken. This part here is this front part of your brain. This is where reasoning happens. So when we are arguing with somebody or when we're in a conversation with somebody, we're usually operating from this front part right here. But guess what happens when we are triggered or when we get really angry? We don't show up with this part, we show up with this part. And this is why sometimes we hear people doing really crazy things when they're angry, and they would never do that ordinarily. But it's because the thinking and reasoning part is not getting the full attention. Now, here's the thing, when you are engaging with somebody who is triggered and they're really angry, matching and mirroring, and I can't put this down, but this is what happens. Somebody shows up, you're fine, they come, their limbic system is exposed, and guess what happens very quickly to you? You're in the same state. So keeping in mind that when we're managing teams, this matching and mirroring happens especially quickly with strong emotions such as anger. Now, for me, it's always interesting to see how people take the assessment. And a consultant that I worked with who had hired me to do some leadership training took the ELI, and one of the things I saw, took it, taken online, and I got this message that read something like, "Must talk now," 5 exclamation marks. And I thought, okay. Got the email that said, "Immediately." And I thought, okay, something's not sitting right. So I picked up the phone and, I said, "What's going on?" And he laid into it and he said, "This is not right. I cannot believe this. This whole assessment is wrong. Why did you make me take this assessment?" Now, who wants to take a guess how high he scored on level 2? So I asked him, I said, just out of curiosity, this anger, where else is this showing up? And he said, "Well, it's showing up nowhere." And I said, "Really, for sure?" He's like, well, I guess, like if the light is on red too long, I start honking violently. And I said, "Okay, got it." And then we were able to really see where is this getting in the way of him building stronger teams. Now, we already covered in level 3, we're really in a transition level. We're still having lots of blaming. We're still having lots of finger pointing, but something is happening at level 3 because at all costs, we want to avoid conflict. We're driven here when we're leading at level 3 leadership to just appease everybody. Here's the common thinking, and you'll hear this level 3 leadership when people say, "Well, I guess it's good enough. Yeah, it's, who's ever heard that? It's fine. It's fine." One of those fabulous words. There's a lot of rationalizing that happens at level 3. And we rationalize things away like, well, they're still new on the team. They're still learning. Or, well, it is a new company. We need to let's give them some time. Rationalization, keeping the peace, not rocking the boat is key at level 3. So when you see a team operating at level 3, it's a little bit like, imagine taking 2 magnets and it's not the right pole. So they're in the same room, but they're not connecting. So teams that are working on level 3 leadership, they're really missing out. What do you think that they might be missing out on in their engagement together when you're rationalizing a lot? What do you think they're missing out on? More success, yes. How come? You're settling, yes. And how come, I'm going to just keep going, how come they're settling? And anybody can join in. How come they don't believe in themselves? Yeah, what else? Yes, they're avoiding conflict. So at level 3, when you walk in on a team that's operating at level 3, it feels comfortable, kind of, but the conversations that really need to be had aren't being had. People are holding back because they're settling, they're not leaning in, there's too much at risk, there's still a lack of trust at level 3. Now, here's the thing that most of us have someone at this level 3 level that we have a conversation that's waiting. For some people, that's somebody at work. And the way you can tell is if you're making an extra loop not to pass that person, that's somebody you need to have a conversation with. Or maybe you're avoiding going somewhere altogether. That's a level 3 avoidance, because there's a lack of trust that we can actually have this conversation. It's the person that you might hope that you don't see this Thanksgiving because you're hoping not to have that conversation. So here's what I'd like for you to do right now on your phone or on a piece of paper is to think about who is that person that you know that you need to have a conversation with. So I'll just give you a moment and think about, it might be with your kids. It might be that relationship that you haven't finished and had that last conversation. Yes, thank you. There's some people who are chiming in. There's fear of being chastised. Yes, because of team culture. Yes. So we don't have some of those conversations. Absolutely. And so just think about, because we'll do something with this in a minute. And I can promise you right now, we're not going to share the name. I'm not going to ask anybody to say who this person is. But I do want you to think about that there is, for most of us, a conversation that's waiting for us to have. And when we do have that conversation, there's something that could be better, a new possibility on the other side. So just take a moment, because we are going to do an activity with this. Who is that person in your life, in your team, at your church, where you're volunteering? Maybe it's with your kids. It might be a conversation that you need to have with yourself about getting real about something. I'm just going to give you a moment to write down a name. And then we're going to go into a breakout room and we're going to work in partners here at our table and share a couple of things. So we're going to go into breakout rooms for 5 minutes. And let's put 2 people in a breakout room. Can we do that? 2 or 3, depending on. Sure. So I hope everyone has a name written down of a relationship that's not quite where you were hoping that it would be. So this is what we're going to do. You're going to partner with somebody at your table, just one person. I know that not all tables have even numbers, so there might be some groups of 3. And this is what I want you to share with each other. Oops, can we just close it for a moment? I want you to share what is making it difficult for you to have this conversation and what's the impact of this. So is it a sleepless night? Is it that conversation that you've been thinking about for 10 years and still haven't done? Is it, what is it for you? But what's the impact? This is what I do not want you to share. Don't share the name and do not share what the situation was about. Because for this exercise, it's just about getting real on why haven't you taken the leap and how is this impacting you? So I'll give you 5 minutes. We're going to send people into breakout rooms, work with one partner, and share what is getting in the way of you having this key conversation with this individual, and what's the impact of you not having this conversation. So just turn to the person next to you, and I'll give you 5 minutes. I'd love to hear some reasons. People are still sharing, but I'd love to hear some reasons why people aren't having these conversations. What are some reasons for not leaning into some of these conversations? Who's brave enough to share what you heard? Or yes. I don't think it would have changed anything. Okay, great. What's some other reason? Yes. Yeah, it's been too long. What are some other reasons we don't have these conversations? Yes.
I would say time waster, like having the conversation won't lead to anything or any change.
Okay, I just heard a chat here that says that it's not going to lead to any change. Thank you for contributing that. That was from someone on our online, I think. Yeah, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, I even have. By the way, a lot of these reasons, are you noticing how those are a level one kind of reasons? It's not going to do anything anyway. Yes, I see somebody else raising their hand. Avoid confrontation, yes. Who, by the way, also said, well, I just don't have the time for it. Anyone say that? So if we said this relationship is more important and bringing that to a close, and if we stop everything right now and gave you 15 minutes to do it, who would do it? Yeah, I see some people going turning white and going, oh my God, is she really going to make us call these people? Don't worry, we're not going to do that right now. But I do want you to think about, yeah, yeah, I don't have the number, right? If you really wanted to do it, could you get that number? So at level 3, can't change the person, so just try to get the job done. Yeah, so at level 3, this is exactly what people experience, a lot of reasons. Now there's some people that didn't participate at all. They're like, I'm opting out, I'm not doing this, why should I do this? Guess what? You have these people on your teams as well that are opting out. They're there, but they're not participating. So just take that on. That's a way of being an employee disengagement is a huge challenge. So you just experienced level 3. Now I'm going to go through the rest of the levels a little bit faster because the first 3 levels are the ones that really get us in trouble. Please also note that every single level has an advantage and a disadvantage. In level 1 and 2, it's a little bit like the crazy 8. We can have a lot of level 1, then we get really angry. We're at level 2 and we bounce back to level 1. And at level 4, we can also have a little bit of a seesaw. And I see a question. Yes. That's a fabulous question. So the question was, can you have different levels if you're working with different teams? Yes, absolutely. And I'm going to say something to that. Keep in mind that this is a way of leading, and there might be this one person that you're having a challenge with, and you're showing up at leadership level 2, but in all other areas, you're showing up at a much higher level. So yes, that's absolutely possible. So at level 4, this is really service above self. You see, this is the first level that true teamwork is really possible. This is where people are really interested. I usually, people in organizations that are at level 4, they want to have communication training, they want to have leadership training, because they know that there's such a benefit for the whole organization at level 4. Now, the thing is that what happens when you do a lot of giving? What can happen to you? Burn out. So this is the organization that all of a sudden one of the top performers or the top leaders just drops out and says, I'm walking away. We just missed that they're giving and giving. So learning about boundaries, the ability to say no, how to show up in a more empowering way is all of that is happening at level 4. At level 4, we're also committed to helping. And that's going to be very different than what we see in the next level. Now, I'm going to say something to that question. I work with an organization, and the leaders in that organization, I mean, these are the people you want on your team. They're highly motivated. They were just the rock stars of team people. I mean, if there was something to do, they did it. They were resourceful. And then something happened. They came together to try to work on this change initiative. And the energy just kind of went, and they couldn't figure out why. Each one of them in their department was huge. They were rock stars. But when they came together, the energy and the leadership level just dropped. So what we did in that case, each one of the leaders took the ELI. They had their own debrief so they could learn about their own. What they discovered is that there were some things that were not ironed out within some of the people in the change leadership team. So we looked at not only the individual, but also talked about how are they showing up as a group? What do we need to do as a group to raise the leadership level there? So the individuals were really high, but the moment they came together, not a good scenario. So at level 5, our leadership really changes, because at level 5, this is when we're no longer looking to fix people or fix things. Instead, we're really interested in empowering people on the team. If somebody needs help, I'm not here to fix it. However, how can I help you so that you can help yourself? And at this level, amazing things start happening because opportunity is found everywhere. And the other thing is that people who are at level 5 are amazing thinkers. They're usually good at communication. We want to start working in teams. We see opportunities, but fixing is not what we want to do anymore. And so this is very different than at level 2 or level 4, even when we're still dedicated to fixing. At level 5, it's all about creating opportunity, working together, increasing what's possible in growing synergies. Relationships become very, very, very important. So purpose-driven organizations, for example, they are always looking for the relationships. They know that transaction is important, but they're always focused on relationships. And that's a sign of level 5 leadership. Now, I told you that every level has an advantage and a disadvantage. And at level 5, 6, and 7, something happens. So at level 5, we start to get pretty inspired. And at level 6, at level 6, we actually look for problems as opportunities. When you're in an organization that is operating at level 6, or you're working with a leader who's at level 6, there's no problem that's too big because they're looking at what's the opportunity here? What can we do to make this work for us? We're no longer interested in being right. And the thing that somebody does at level 6 is they have so much trust in the relationship that they would never hold back on a phone call. They don't hold back on making those relationship requests that need to happen so that the relationship can grow, because they know whatever needs to be said, and they have faith in the relationship. The last of the 7 levels is the level 7. Now, I call this the Buddha level. We can't stay at this level all the time, but this is that moment. It's raining outside. Maybe the kids are being loud downstairs. The dog has just knocked something over, but you're standing there thinking, wow, life is great at that moment. We've had those moments. Usually we don't stay there very long, but those are the moments when we don't look for the rainbow, when we get everything that we get to experience. There's not any one thing that is more valuable than another, because we realize that just the experience is what we're after. Now here you can see great visionaries are a lot at level 7 because they're able to see much bigger pictures. Now, the goal isn't for us to be at level 7 all the time, because believe it or not, people who spend a lot of time at level 7 tend to be pretty lonely people. Because you can think about, if you are the leader that's the visionary and you're working with somebody who's at level 2, doesn't work. It's like they're speaking different languages. And so at level 7, we just want to be mindful of the fact that, there could be some loneliness that's happening here. Oh, question.
What do you attribute? I think we see a lot of relationships, intimate relationships, the people on the same workforce that kind of think the same at the same level. What do you attribute that?
So can
attract
Mhm.
long term.
Oh, this is a whole nother talk, I think. And I do want to say something to that. And that is, we talked about the matching and mirroring, so that when we do have relationships where there's a lot of synergy, a lot of similar leadership level, a lot of great things can happen. When we're working on a team, the team will almost always operate at the highest level of the lowest leadership level in the group. So if you have a group and you've got 10 people who are at level, 5, and they're creating all these beautiful things, but you've got 2 people and their main operating level is at level 2, that whole group is going to work at the pace of the level 2 leaders in that group. And that's how it tends to happen. Now let's see how well you were paying attention. As we're wrapping this up, I want to give you a little quiz and see who was paying attention. At level 1, I want you to imagine you're walking in your company, you're about to have an important meeting, and the lights don't work. How are you showing up when you're leading from level 1? Who wants to take a guess? This is being a victim. This is, I can't ever get it right. Who wants to take a guess what you're experiencing? Panic, yes. What else? Anything else? Yeah, level 1 is, remember, that's pretty low. It's like, so the way we might experience the burnt out line is, man, why does this always happen to me? You know, why does this always happen when I'm running a meeting? It's always me. That's how you would experience level 1. Level 2 was the level of anger. Now, I want you to imagine you're at level 2, you walk in, the lights don't work. How are you showing up? Panic, and you might have a few choice words for maintenance. Can't believe it. Should fire some people. How about if you're at level 3? This is the level of rationalization. How would you experience the burnt out light bulb? Say again? Yeah, I guess it just, it wasn't meant to be. Yeah. How about at level 4? If you're showing up as a level 4 leadership, the lights are burnt out. What? Yeah, let's help this guy. You know what? They're so big. I live next to CVS, actually. I can help out. Yeah, absolutely. Let's help them out. How about level 5? This is now we're looking for what's working, and we're looking for relationships. Let's do it in the almost, we're almost there. Getting ahead. Yeah, solar energy. We might look at, who else is having this challenge? Let's work with them together so that this doesn't happen. Remember, at level 5, we're always looking at what's working. So what's working in somebody else's organization or team, and let's piggyback on that. Yeah, exactly. Does anybody know anybody who's on the maintenance staff? Absolutely. At level 6, problems become opportunities. So how might you show up if you're entering at level 6? Let's turn off all the lights. Yeah. And we might say, is this a business opportunity? Could we take this project on? Like, what becomes possible? The problem is the opportunity. Yes. And at level 7, I think you already said, do we need the light? Let's just do it in the dark. Yeah, exactly. So these 7 leadership levels, you see, allow you to tap into different possibilities. The light bulb is always burnt out, but how you were able to experience the burnt out light bulb, how you're able to react, lead in that moment is very different depending on how you're showing up. So there's one thing when I am working with people that they tell me is their biggest challenge. And this doesn't matter if it's the CEO or if it's somebody in a team that I'm working with. One of the things that they tell me that's the biggest challenge for them is that fear gets in the way. Especially last year, we saw anxiety, depression, drinking on the rise as we all had to pivot and shift. And it doesn't matter who I work with, what team I work with, fear shows up very differently for different people. But fear is something that can stop us. Fear is something that sometimes lets us make decisions that are maybe not the most empowering. But we don't have to stay there, because this conversation and this journey is all about your ability to shift from there. And what if I told you that as powerful as fear is, there's an emotion that's even greater than fear that has the ability to just wipe fear away? Who would want to know what that is? Yeah. So I want us to do one last final exercise together so that you'll always be equipped, no matter how much fear is seeping in and however that's showing up for you, that you have what it takes to shift out of fear anytime so that you have the opportunity to shift in one of the other leadership levels. And to do this, I'm going to ask you to stand up, and it's going to be an invitation to do a closed eye exercise with me, whoever feels comfortable doing that. And can we turn on a little bit of music? Let's see, what level are you on right now? Yeah, what level is that? That's a great question. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to invite you to just stand up with me for a moment? We'll get some music going here, maybe. I am so grateful, by the way, for Matt, because technology's and if we don't have the music, that's all right too. We can do it without music. So we will be doing this without music. Let's stay at level 7. All right, we'll just do it without music. So I'm going to invite you to take a deep breath in. When you do, just close your eyes, feel grounded, put your hands comfortably to the left and right. Just take a deep breath in, just feeling perfectly grounded, your feet on the ground. And as you're breathing in through your nose and exhaling through your mouth gently, just feel a sense of relaxation. There's a feeling that is much more powerful than fear, and it is gratitude. It is one of the most powerful emotions we can experience. And so I'm going to ask you, the next time you breathe in, think of a moment in your life for which you could be absolutely grateful for. But don't just think about it. Allow yourself to re-experience that moment as though you were experiencing it right now. Just allow yourself to revisit and pay attention. How are you standing? How does it feel when you're feeling gratitude? And allow it to fill your body. With your next inhale, I'm going to invite you to think of a second moment in your life for which you could be profoundly grateful. Think about a person in your life. Maybe that person is still with you today. Maybe they were important for you during a moment in your life. But as you're breathing in, just allow yourself to be filled with gratitude for that person. Inhaling and exhaling. And with your next inhale, think about one thing that you've done in your life for which you are grateful. This could be something really small, maybe just showing up somewhere, but it made a difference and you feel gratitude for it. And as you feel this gratitude filling you up, I'm going to take one more deep breath. And when you do, I invite you to feel gratitude for all these 3 things at the same time. Just allow it to fill you from the inside out and experience what gratitude feels in your body. So let's take one more breath in, exhaling gently, and feel filled with gratitude. And when you're ready, feel free to open your eyes. And feel free to have a seat. You don't have to stay standing. Gratitude is the most powerful emotion that we can experience. And you have this tool within you now. You always are able to tap into gratitude to shift yourself out of fear. And whatever emotions come up. An emotion is just that, just an emotion. It's just a sign that something important has happened. But I promise you, if you invite gratitude into your life like this, things can begin to shift. Now, as we're rounding off this conversation, this journey together, I want to leave you with a final thought. Leadership isn't a title. It's not something that's on your door where people say, oh, this is great. It's not a certification. It's not something that you necessarily have to do. True leadership is a way of being. It's a way for you to show up in the world and to make a difference. And today you went on this journey, and my invitation to you is think about one thing, just one thing that you heard today, and how could you plug that into your life to expand what's possible and to create new possibilities. So I do have a summary sheet of this event. So if this is your opportunity to pull up your phone, and I'm happy to send that to anyone who would like to take it. and you'll share it with everyone. So yes. So with that, enjoy the rest of your evening, and it was a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we look forward to seeing you soon. While we pivot to chapter remarks, we'll have a commercial from Project Management for Change. So their amazing leader, Miss Beth May.
Thank you. From one amazing leader, Matt, to another. This is a great opportunity for me, and I really appreciate Matt always giving me this opportunity to plug Project Management for Change and our annual Project Management Day of Service. Tomorrow, for those of you who don't know, is International Project Management Day. And those of you who are on our mailing list, PM for Change's mailing list, will receive an email from me tomorrow saying, hold the date. Registration for the next Project Management Day of Service will open December 6th, Monday, December 6th. And the event itself will be on Saturday, February 19th, and it will be virtual again this year because COVID. So we had a great event this past February, all virtual. It went very well. We got a lot of very positive feedback from all of the participants. So we're going to do the same but better. We're going to fix the things we got feedback on that weren't as great and keep doing the things that were great. So I hope you'll join me in changing the world one project at a time.
Okay, just a few chapter notes. We've extended our chapter election nomination window. So if this is your first event and you like the energy and you want to be a part of it, we'd love for you to be on our leadership team. Our positions for re-election nomination include president, our long-term vice president, treasury and finance, Mr. Gene Edry in the back, who you met at registration, has thrown his name in the hat for president. Co-vice president of programs, which helps find all the great speakers like Ms. Pichardo, vice president of membership, who communicates with the members and makes sure you guys have a warm welcome and be informed throughout your membership tenures, and then vice president of communication to help with the technology and comms. Okay, Santa Charlie, our president, has a great gift for you this Christmas. We'll be back here the first Wednesday of December, December 1st, for another free dinner. So we hope to see you again. It won't be fillets and crab cakes again, but it will be a great meal. And another round of applause for our Normandie farm team. So we should be announcing our speaker in the next few days. That speaker may very well be in this room with you right now. So look to your left and right and be like, is it you? We'll also be returning the project showcase, which is half a PDU talk before the dinner service starts. So we look forward to getting in the swing of things, and we'll also be having a toy drive as we have done in past years. That'll go to Montgomery County Family Services. So this will all be in the newsletter, but we look forward to seeing everyone and maybe even more right here in a couple of weeks. PMI Global is offering their Seminars World event. So if your company offers training education allowances that you can use for the end of the year, this would be a great way to get 40 PDUs. Our friends with Leadership Techniques are providing another presentation. PMI is also getting in the citizen development business, offering a practitioner micro-credential, which is an online course. So when you think citizen development, just the technical geeks aren't the technical people anymore, like when you're in the workforce in the 21st century. That's one of the reasons why PMI is shifting how they do business. People in different occupational fields and work levels are learning how to be technical. They're learning how to build a solution they have in their head in the Salesforce or ServiceNow. So as PMI morphs into more how project management's being done today in 2021, citizen development's a big part of that. So the course is $79. The practitioner course is $250. But as a IT dork and myself, like I'm excited that they're bringing this to the project management community because nobody has better ideas than project managers, right? Okay, one person left. And then our education partners are continuing to do good things. People are slowly walking into more in-person events, but they've been offering great virtual education opportunities since March of 2020. So they support us by symposiums and volunteering their time. So please help us continue to support them. And then in closing, so as I mentioned, we've been doing these member appreciation dinners for 2004. Who came up with the idea for a free dinner was our president, Mr. Charlie Geis, who came up with free education symposiums and training and rewarding you as members and trying to give you as much bang for your $20 fees was Mr. Charlie Geis. And who will be departing us as president January 1st is Mr. Charlie Geis. So we invite him to address the chapter that he built and is his labor of love. Okay, thank you, everyone. We look forward to seeing everyone Wednesday, December 1st, and drive home safe.